Hey Mom, what's for dinner? Smothered chicken with rice and Thai sweet chili green beans. We start with cleaning the chicken leg quarters.
And yes, I skin them and I clean them thoroughly. I remove as much fat as possible and I remove the digestive organs. No need to leave the skin on unless you're frying chicken, and I only fry once or twice a year. And yes, I thoroughly clean my sink and my counters multiple times anytime I'm cleaning any kind of meat, especially poultry. And when you run out of lemons and limes, just go with your good old-fashioned vinegar, because that's what I do. If you don't clean your chicken, that's your business. This is my chicken. So we're going to season our chicken and our flour with our lemon pepper, a little Himalayan pink salt, some cayenne, some paprika, some garlic powder, onion powder, and some Mrs. Dash. We're also going to slice up some onion. You'll need some chicken broth, some garlic, some thyme, and a few bay leaves for your gravy. Once you massage that seasoning into your chicken, you're going to take each piece of chicken and make sure that it's well floured and then set it aside. While you're doing that, you should have your oil in your heavy pan heating to medium-high heat. You probably want about a good inch of oil in your pan because you are trying to mostly brown that chicken. It's going to go in the oven afterwards anyway. I used peanut oil. You can use canola, vegetable, whatever you prefer. When you're done with that flour, you want to reserve it. You don't want to throw it out because you're going to use it to help make your gravy. And when your oil is hot, you want to put your chicken in. You don't want to crowd it. I started with 2, and when that 2 started cooking down, I added the 3rd. It should look nice and golden brown like this before you flip it. As usual, you want 2 pairs of tongs. You want one to flip it while it's still wet and another to remove it so that you're not cross-contaminating. Continue browning your chicken in batches, removing pieces as they're browned and adding pieces as there is room. You can also go ahead and start your white rice. I had to make like twice as much tonight because I'm going to make hibachi in a couple days. And hibachi requires that you use at least 2-day-old rice to make your fried rice. And once you're done cooking all of that chicken, you want to go ahead and put your onions in that oil. Let those onions cook down a little. They're going to get pretty brown pretty quickly too. I couldn't fit all of my leg quarters in this pan, so I ended up separating one of the leg and thighs from one another so that I had enough room. And then I added my onions directly from that hot grease on top of my chicken. I poured most of the grease out of that pan and just left the drippings and whatever specks of oil were still in there. Returned it to the stove and shook that flour into the pan and used my whisk to incorporate that oil in that flour, and then I began browning the flour. So I took my time adding my garlic, and then I added some seasonings, which included the thyme that we'd set aside and a little bit of salt. And then I added my chicken broth. It's reduced sodium, so that little bit of salt is definitely not going to hurt it. I also added a little bit more of the smoked paprika because that's what gives it some really good flavor. And then I added my better than bouillon. And then I went ahead and added my water, which is what makes the actual broth. And then you want to whisk that gradually as you go because that's what's going to help you to get rid of the lumps. You don't put all your liquid in at one time because you won't be able to get rid of the lumps if you do that. So you want to add it as you go. And then you want to keep adding the liquid until you have the right ratio if you are using the better than bouillon. And also until you get it to the desired thickness. And you also want to add your bay leaves because that's what's going to add that additional flavor. You'll need to take those bay leaves out when you're done though. And you'll see me continuing to add water as I continue to beat out any lumps and also ensure that it has the desired thickness. You don't want it too thick because you're going to put it in the oven, but you don't want it too thin because the juices from the chicken as it continues to cook is going to thin it out. You also want to reserve some of it to go on your rice. And then you're going to pour what's remaining on top of your chicken And you'll take a spoon and just make sure that all of your chicken is covered in the gravy, because you're not going to stir it, you're not going to flip it, you're not going to do any of that. You're going to put it in your preheated 400-degree oven and leave it alone for the next 35 minutes. You can keep the reserved gravy warm on top of the stove, and it's a go. Now we're going to have green beans for dinner. And since I have the huge bag of green beans that I got from Costco, I'm always trying to make it taste a little different. So tonight I decided to do the Thai chili green beans. And it was an epic fail. Not because I didn't know what I was doing, but because I got distracted. I went over to the kitchen sink and started washing dishes. And I was supposed to be listening to the pan. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean here. So you add a little oil. You add your green beans. They're frozen. So you're going to add your seasonings and you're going to stir that up. I like to use my pasta spoon just because for some reason it's just easier with green beans and collard greens and cabbage and all those types of things. I just like to use the pasta spoon. And so you're going to stir that up. You're going to basically be making sure that it's like well coated in the oil. The purpose is to kind of like take the frozen chill off of them, so to speak. And then you're going to add your water. So that water is already boiled. And you're not going to add a lot of water because you're not boiling the green beans. You're steaming them. That was the PF Chang's sweet chili sauce that I was just holding up. And you're going to add that at the end. So you see, I added a little water, just enough to steam the green beans. And then I added the lid. You hear that sizzling sound? I was supposed to be listening for that sizzling sound to kind of dissipate. I failed. This is what I got when I took the lid off. Burnt green beans. As much as I hate to waste food, I had to thank God that I had a bag of green beans in the freezer and I could just make some more. This is what they were supposed to look like. And this is me putting the last 2 tablespoons or so of that Thai sweet chili sauce to give it that nice flavor that I was looking for. But this just goes to show that even people who cook all the time burn stuff. And now for the plating. And if you watch carefully, you'll see some hands that were definitely not mine. Come and snatch that plate away.